Cyberpunk 2077. This is a game that has been in development for around 9 years. Many news came out related to this game. A lot of press, a lot of good press, a lot of bad press. I think that by this point, many people know about this game. It came out in 2020, and the release was a bit rushed. So a lot of problems, a lot of bugs. The game was unfinished, and even some of the console ports had major problems, and Sony removed the PlayStation 4 version from the Sony PlayStation Store. The game was basically unplayable. Currently we're at patch 1.5. I'm talking about the game as of February 2021. At this point, I find the game very stable. I played the whole game on Xbox Series S. This is the lower spec console version. For the whole duration of my playthrough, I had no more than 5 crashes. And since the game has a very good autosave system, these restarts were not critical. I think that overall the game was very stable, maybe some visual glitches from time to time, but nothing major. I work in software development, and I feel quite sad about the developers since they spend quite a lot of time developing this game, and most of the time there are many non-technical people who make major decisions and impact the whole release. They don't know, let's say, the technical details, how much time do developers need, and they lie about the game being stable. At the end of the day, it's all business, and it's quite unfortunate that such a good game was released this way. I think that the game is really nice. I have played many games throughout the years, and it's getting very hard to find some game which has good gameplay and good story. And these days, due to political reasons, it's quite hard to find such game which doesn't have too much censorship, and ideas are presented in a free way. These days, most companies try to follow some political agenda and try not to offend people and stuff like this. So yeah, this is a game that had a lot of hype, a lot of promises. People were expecting too much. I don't know. I didn't have many expectations. I haven't played many games from CD Projekt Red. I played Witcher the first part, didn't enjoy the game that much, didn't try the later versions, so as I said, I didn't have great expectations. To be honest, even the whole name Cyberpunk, I was thinking maybe it's a bit exaggerated because this game is more mainstream, let's say, some certain parts of the story. It's not like it's true punk, there are some ideas that I would say, yeah, this is punk, but in general, it's more like, let's say, particularly the soundtrack, and I will get into more details. But all I'm trying to say is that I didn't have such big expectations when I started playing the game. This game combines different game types, like it has RPG elements, it has first-person shooter elements, it has driving elements, it has stealth elements. So this game tried to combine different game mechanics. I wouldn't say it's some major breakthrough, but I think the gameplay is quite good without being revolutionary. On YouTube, I see a lot of videos about comparisons when it comes to GTA. I would say, yeah, there are similarities, but GTA is mostly about the mafia, and here, yeah, I wouldn't say you are the good guy, but you are not the bad guy either. But, the whole game is not about evil versus the good or something like this. It's more philosophical. In some fantasy games, you can choose to be chaotic good, chaotic evil, or like neutral, or good or evil. Here, there is no such distinctions. I mean, you can behave in a proper way, like a decent human being, but yeah, you can be a jerk as well. But it's not like the fantasy games which I described. There are like 3 categories which track how you play, but again, it's not like this evil versus good. In a way, it is. I mean, it's like, let's say, the ordinary person against big evil corporations, but even like the guys running these corporations are not presented in a truly evil way. So it depends on the perspective, I would say. When you start the game, you get to choose like whether you are male or female, or your origin. Are you from the corporate world, or you are from the streets, or you are a nomad? Male versus female, yeah, mostly impacts who you romance, how people address you. these life paths like Nomad, Corp, or the street is about some dialogue choices. Initially you start somewhere, but you end up in the same place, and it's not like like Dragon Age, where you make some decisions and you get some, let's say, maybe several hours of gameplay, which differs. Here it's not so major. Even the corporate playthrough, it's like quite short. If we look into the whole game, I would say that choosing one life path over the other has some significance, like you can relate to the dialogue, to the ending, but again, it's not such a major decision. Besides these choices, you get some stats, like which initially you get some points to spend on. But just going back to the life paths, I would say that some people had really big expectations. But if I think about some game which did this correctly, was maybe Aliens versus Predator. There you had like the alien, the predator, the marine, and the alien was more about stealth. The marine was more like some horror game, and maybe the predator was like some FPS style Doom game. And yeah, you could say each species had unique storyline and unique playing style. But then again, some people complained about each species having a short single-player campaign, so I don't think it's really realistic for Cyberpunk to have such major differences between the life paths. Yeah, it could be done better, but I think it's not that bad as people describe it. Maybe some bigger promises were made. Again, I didn't follow the news. But coming back to this initial part of the game. Okay, so there are 5 attributes like body, intelligence, reflexes, and technical. And these have like some subcategories, like let's say you have handguns, blades, assault. So these are part of the reflexes. Crafting, engineering, these are part of the technical attributes. Bridge protocol are part of the intelligence. Athletics, annihilation, street brawler are part of another attribute. Ninjutsu and cold blood are part of the cool. The previous one is part of the body. And depending on which you choose and how much points you spend, you get different playing styles. Let's say the body, maybe, spending points there, you get better health regeneration. Um, bridge protocol, like part of the intelligence. You can hack stuff and be like some hacker and detonate bombs or distract people with screens or noises. So it depends how you want to choose to play. So my first playthrough was more like body and annihilation. I spent some points on hit points, and I chose to play with the shotgun, which is quite powerful. And if you are able to move close to the enemy, you can be very powerful this way. I decided to play the game one more time, and then I am experimenting with close combat with swords and blades. Like, let's see how this goes. So far, so good. Again, this changes with the released patch, so sometimes some combination might be powerful, sometimes it's not so powerful. Some people complain that, let's say, these play mechanics are not that great. Let's say the FPS part is not so good, or the stealth part is not so good, and they cite, okay, different games which did better. But I would say that each game has some shortcomings. Like, it's not realistic to expect some game which tries to do everything and everything works correctly. The more you experiment, the more likely there are some problems. And overall, I had a very good time with this game, so I don't complain. Yeah, stealth was done better in Thief, but then Thief was a different game, so I cannot compare these two. Maybe you can say GTA did the open world maybe better. But then again, I don't think GTA had such a strong story. Maybe some RPGs did the RPG part better, but maybe they failed somewhere else. As I said, I think the game is quite good. I had a lot of fun playing it. And it comes down to your expectations. Okay, beside these attributes, these skills, you have like the inventory systems. You have some handguns, shotguns, rifles, sniper rifles. You have like some swords, some knives, some maybe Molotovs, maybe some grenades, different types of grenades, different weapons, different playing styles. So it depends on the situation how you choose to play. The game has a good variety, and it's nice to experiment with different options. Now, there is some crafting part where you can disassemble weapons or just use spare parts to build new weapons, new armor, and stuff like this. Sometimes this system can save you, like if you have too many items in your inventory. It can slow you down if you are carrying too much, like other RPGs. Of course, you can trade items, buy new items, but you can just disassemble in worst case. And yeah, this will reduce the weight of stuff that you are carrying. Now I want to say some words regarding the armor. It's an interesting concept because you don't carry like some heavy armor like some fantasy games where you are full of armor. Here you wear normal clothes. You are not wearing a bulletproof vest or something like this. But to a degree, it's not very realistic. You might end up in some shirt and some shorts and some flip-flops, and you are in some battle, somebody shooting at you, but somehow you are able to withstand some, heavy fire. But at the same time, your character looks different. It's not like maybe Diablo. Here the customization looks nice. Maybe not very realistic, but you look like some really cyberpunk most of the time. Maybe if they can make some mechanic where the game switches automatically between armor and casual clothes, it would be the best option. But as it is, I would say it's okay. Now, the more armor you carry, the more the damage you take is reduced. This is the basic concept. Of course, you can upgrade your armor with these crafting options. Now, what about the combat itself? Like I explained, the types of weapons you carry, the armor. Okay. Now, I think combat is fun. You can approach enemies in different ways. Maybe you are like some ninja and sneak behind them, take them all out. Maybe you have some sniper. Later on, you take them out with the sniper. Maybe you have some heavy weapon. You deal explosions. Maybe you are like the hacker type. Through this hacking, you take out enemies. You have different options, and I think this makes the game fun. It's like you can be like some samurai and use, your let's say sword or something like this, and deal damage this way. Some negative parts, like when I play such a game, if I do a headshot with some weapon, I expect the enemy to die quite quickly, but here you can do some headshot, but the enemy is alive. And sadly, you deal with some snipers, enemy snipers, and if they shoot you in the head, you die. But if you shoot them, they don't die. So it's not very fair, and I guess increasing the difficulty increases the disadvantage. But I don't think this is critical. It's not realistic, obviously, but it's the way it is. Of course, some tougher enemies, such as some boss, will take many hits, and some people argue that it's not necessary to have these boss fights. I think it's a quite nice change from time to time. It's not possible to be like some immortal person and go and kill everyone, and some situations take a little bit of thinking, like there is some mission which is similar to Far Cry, where you have some binoculars and you scan the area and you have some plan how to attack, what to do. But again, it depends on you. I think the game is not making you play a certain way. You can think about how you want to play. Like, this is an open world game, so you have these huge areas, and there is a map which can show you where you are. There is a mini map which shows you the directions. And I think the system is quite good. I didn't have any problems navigating. After time, you get to learn the streets, where you are going, where you need to go, so it's not some big problem navigating the world. Another cool system in the game is how you receive the tasks. You have some phone, you have some messages, and you receive some let's say new tasks, new missions through your phone, through messages. Sometimes it's just about picking the phone, answering and accepting, or just replying to a message, and you are good to go. Start the next mission. The phone message system also helps you communicate with allies, like friendly Npcs, and if we go to Dragon Age, you can hang with some NPCs, hear their thoughts, how they communicate with each other, and this made the game, let's say, very close to reality, And this is how you learn more about NPCs, about their stories. But one disadvantage was that, if I play some wizard, then obviously I'm going to pick some warrior and maybe some healer who will help me, but not another wizard. You will not play two wizards at the same time. Of course, this depends, but you are missing on NPC stories, their background and stuff like this. Whereas here, you can always call someone on the phone, like you are on a mission, you are going somewhere, you can call someone, have the other person talking, and you walk around towards the next mission. And I think this is quite a good system. It makes the whole game even, let's say, more realistic to our age, and it's quite nice that sometimes people call you, check how you are, where you are, and this makes this connection between the player and the AI more realistic. Regarding this map, this whole open world, How you navigate? Well, you can walk by foot, you can drive some vehicle, or you just use the travel system. There are some certain, let's say, something similar to a bus stop or like quick travel points where you can go from one place to the other very quickly. You just choose where to go and you teleport there. Loading times are quite quick, so going from point 1 to point 2 feels very quick. Now there is like this vehicle part. I read that it was not very good initially, but now I think it's quite okay. You can pick different vehicles and navigate using this way. Now, there are some very fast cars, but the whole map is done in such a way that if you are driving through the city, there are other vehicles and you cannot go very fast. Mostly I choose driving some motorcycle. It was probably the fastest way because you have these turns and the vehicles are pretty much indestructible. You can crash with a very high speed, flip, and just continue. So, in the worst case, you will just become slower. You watch the car flip, then start again, but nothing major will happen. Now you can hit some people on the street, and this will cause the police to chase you. So be careful how you drive. You cannot be truly irresponsible. Now this police is a bit unfinished. It mimics a bit the GTA mechanics, but I wouldn't say it was such a major part of the game. You can help the police, with some crimes, but other than that, this police chase is, I don't know, maybe some unfinished stuff. I didn't deal with this mechanic in detail, but yeah. Now, I would talk about the quests. Now, there are different activities. There are some tasks which you can do for money, street recognition. Like this street recognition, the more you have, the better items you can buy. There are some quests that have some really good story. There are some quests which are mandatory in order for the story to progress. Also, there are some events like the police will ask you to kill some, let's say, criminal types. But I did the major quests and most of the important quests. Let's say I did, there are several NPCs which have a storyline. You have even some achievement you can unlock. So I did those. I did the main storyline, but I didn't go too much into the other stuff because for me the story is more important and I didn't want to wander around the city like some people say, okay, this is some big city, but not much to do. I spent about 48 hours to beat the game, and I think this is more than enough. Some people spent even more time. Of course, depends whether you want to play the the game once or twice, or I don't know, like have some variation. What I really liked about the quests is that they're quite meaningful, especially the main storyline, the main character quests. A lot of good writing was done. You don't just run around and let's say somebody says, go fetch me a cup of water, or you have to grind and do some very tedious stuff in order to progress. No, this is not the case. I would say each quest had a very deep meaning, and not only did it progress the main storyline, but it gave you insight into the world, why things are the way they are. How does the future look like? How does technology impact the future? So in this regard, I think that most quests are worth doing, and I would say that some of the quests were really amazing, really amazing. I will remember some of the quests, let's say, forever. Now, what about this open world? Some people complain it's not so interactive, like maybe it's more cosmetics, but let's say I played Far Cry, and I think the whole night-day life cycle, some animals hunting other animals, it felt quite real, but it's a different game. You play by yourself in nature, whereas here, what are the expectations that people walking down the street are going to interact, or I don't know what people are expecting. I think that just the cityscapes are quite amazing. At times I would just sit on the side and hear the rain falling and just watch the city lights and observe people walking down the street or stuff like this. So I think the other option is just to create some massive multiplayer game, like maybe Knights of, like these Star Wars games or World of Warcraft. But then again, you cannot have a real simulation of the real world. Maybe, when we have some very advanced AI, who knows, maybe we'll get to this point at some point. Or who knows, maybe this metaverse, I don't know. But there will be some limitations. I think that just Night City is a great place. You have all the merchants on the streets. There is stuff going on, from time to time police will chase some criminals, or some crime will happen, you get to interact. The crowds react to your actions. If there is some crime, people will run away. So for the most part, I think this real world is done well. I don't think it's realistic to expect that some people walking down the street will give you your number and you say, okay, let's go and drink beer and stuff like this. But how this night city impacted me, at some points I was playing during the night and just going even on the balcony, and it takes my mind to adjust that I am on the balcony and I am not in night city. Especially I like the start screen ambient music where this music sounds a bit like some, if you remember back at modem noises when you connect to the internet. So this ambient music, it was quite relaxing. I would play at the early hours at night and just listen to these sounds, and yeah, I felt like I am part of this night city. So if this had such an impact, I would say that the game world is quite realistic, quite immersive. But overall, I think that this immersion and the whole game being realistic is this several important NPCs. Like, I really felt that they care for my character, my progression. Sometimes they will send a message: how are you doing, where you are. You can talk to them, ask them how they feel, how you feel. Sometimes even the main character gets emotional. He will joke around, or maybe she will joke around, depending on whether you're playing male or female. So there are some very genuine interactions, which I really, really enjoyed. And the character animations, it's not like, if you remember Mass Effect, like people's eyes, and here it's not the case. Just the animations and the interactions are, yeah, they are quite good. Even, there are some missions which are quite nice. You spend time with the characters doing some activities which are not related to go kill someone or fight these enemies. It's just chill out, maybe drink beer, have some, dinner, some family event, and I really appreciate these moments. They are special moments, and not many games have these moments. Again, these interactions make the world more believable, more real. I think that the graphics in general are good. They're not amazing, but again, I played on Xbox Series S, so maybe if you have a good computer, maybe the game looks much better. I cannot comment on this. What about the, let's say, other parts? Like, there are not many cutscenes like where you sit idle. It's like some things happen interactively, which makes the game more immersive. I would say there are some quick time events. Some are done well, like the scripted events. Some are not that great, but there are not so many events like this, and it's, let's say, some nice change to the whole pace, to the whole game. What about the audio? Well, I would say that it's quite good in general. The original score is excellent. Even I would say the score is, I would compare it to the Doom soundtrack, like the Doom reboot. Not Doom Eternal, but the first Doom reboot. There is one particular mission where, let's say, you feel like in the Matrix, and the soundtrack which is related to this section is really excellent. The end credits are good, the intro is good. I would say it's really good. Now there is this Johnny Silverhand band, and initially I wasn't that big of a fan of this music like done by Refused, because it sounded a bit like Kill Switch Engage, and I listened to metalcore when I was a teenager, and these days I listen more like to more technical stuff, let's say something like Opeth, Joe Satriani, Steve Vai. I think okay, maybe there is a better choice of music, but I would say that the music grows on you, and I played some of the songs on my guitar, and then I realized, okay, these are some really good riffs. So if I have to sum it up, maybe the samurai music is great, the original score is great. Oh, similar to GTA, you have like some radio stations. While you are driving your car, you can switch radio stations, and the music there, I don't know, I didn't like it at all. It's just some really commercial stuff, which, okay, there is some cool stuff, but come on, like including Grimes, sorry, but this game is anti-establishment, and this is an artist who is or was, I don't know, don't follow the gossip, but married to the richest person on the planet, and I don't think it's appropriate to have such an artist on a soundtrack like this. If you want some, let's say, electronic music, why not have something like Crystal Castles or some other artists? If I think about some game which had really cool music and had some bands, I always think of Vampire the Bloodlines, and it had so many great names, and it fitted the whole game really, really well, and I learned about many bands which I listen to these days, like Tiamat and Lacuna Coil and stuff like this. Here, this is not the case, and as a fan of punk music, I would say I am very disappointed that there is no hardcore punk, let's say, like Exploited, which would fit the game much better. Also, maybe include something like Crass or GBH. Why not the Ramones or something like this? It's punk, real punk. Maybe Dead Kennedy, stuff like this. Why include this commercial stuff? I don't know. But this is my opinion, of course. People listen to different music. I played in the past 20 whole games, and some of these games had really excellent soundtracks. Like here, at least, you have some track by Run the Jewels, and but could have been much better. Let's say the radio stations, but if I cross out this part, I think that the music is quite good, as I mentioned already. Like the original score, the samurai music, it's good. Now, I would say that what makes this game really special, in general, it's the story. I think that this is the most important part of the game, and why so many people, despite the bugs, despite the, let's say, broken promises, they really enjoyed this game. And the story is a bit sad, at times. It's not the most optimistic story, Even you have several endings, depending on who you ask. It could be 3 main endings, 4, 5. None of which is, let's say, the happy ending. In each ending there is something very sad going on, but I don't want to talk about storylines, about quests in detail, because this review is my opinion about the game in general. There are some really good reviews which include spoilers, and to truly do this game justice, you have to talk about the story, but in this case I don't want to do this. Now, there are, let's say, many philosophical questions. They revolve mainly around let's say, man against the machine. In the game, you can replace your body parts, like hands, eyes, skeleton and stuff like this, and you have these fractions, like different neighborhoods, and depending on where you are, you can find some fractions which use technology very heavily, and they look like cyborgs. Even one of the main enemies looks like a cyborg. And there are characters which refuse to make these body modifications. There are good explanations, In most games you have this health bar, you know, how many bullets you have here. There is part of the story where it explains, okay, you are using technology, so this is why you see how many bullets you have or how much health, which is truly nice. As I said, there are many, many quests, characters, details, models, like which explain how the world is. And sometimes the story is not very clear, you know. Initially, it's quite confusing. Who is this guy? Who is that guy? What's going on? And there is a good journal system where you can read about characters, about events in the game, what happened. For example, I didn't know what is this concept of netrunner. It's basically some hacker, but you have some explanation in the journal. The game explains also how is the life of a rock star. You know, you get to experience this from Johnny's perspective. Live fast, die young. What is the impact on yourself? What is the impact on others? And you know, you can play on stage, you play some guitar. There is some mission where you buy a guitar, and the story is told in such a way that is truly inspiring. You know, after playing the game, I haven't played guitar in quite a lot of time, let's say 1+ year, and I just finished the game and ordered some cheap guitar just so that I can play again. And I read on some comments that some other guys found the game inspiring as well, and they bought guitars as well, started playing again. And the game having such impact on people, to me, this is true art. It's about inspiring people, making them think about real issues. Even as a person who played in some punk band for several years, you know, many years later, I think about life in a slightly different way here. Even the characters reflect. If you watch some documentaries on punk music, you'll see how people change, and I think that most observations, at some point you meet the old band members and how their life changed. And for example, there is this band Lunatics, which is a female punk band, and one of the members, you know, became involved in the fashion world, quite different from the punk world. And, you know, there are times where I think this game reflects on rebellion in a very good way. You know, most of the things that are being said are quite true. The sci-fi part is also done well. You have people inserting some chips in their head, and they gain new knowledge similar to the Matrix movies. People connect to different systems using wires. You can connect to another person using a wire. Even during one of the missions, you get infected by some person, just by connecting to them, and some other person clears this malware. And these are like some really philosophical questions. Also, there is this experiences where you experience someone else through something like virtual reality, and you see people on the streets stuck in this virtual reality. There is some mission where you read parts of the Bible, and there is one guy who wants to make other people go through virtual reality and experience how Jesus was crucified. You can even nail this person to the cross. This might be a sensitive matter, but this game reflects on a lot of aspects. It's not just you are somewhere in the future, there are aliens, you fight some unknown threat. These are questions regarding how technology will impact people. How will technology change your life? There are questions surrounding even like, do you want to be stuck in this world where you just want to escape the city, just go to the countryside, and is it worth it? At some point there is some really excellent mission which has great music where you go underwater, talk about the past with some character, how things were in the past. There are some really great moments. Also, there are questions related to success. Do you want to be this, let's say, really successful person? Do you want to achieve success but lose your personality? There are characters which, let's say, were against the system, then they became part of the system. Do you want to be such a person? There are many questions. Do you want to be some legend or some unknown person? There are so many questions, so much to explore, and to me this is what makes this game really great. All these questions, all these dialogues, all these well-written characters. I don't care so much about the bugs or the technical details. There are cases like Avatar, the movie. Back in time, cool graphics, 3D. It was, from a technical perspective, some step forward in movie making, but the story was quite poor and the movie was quite forgettable. At least this is my opinion. So, for me, the substance, the game. Do you feel inspired, like people wanting to play an instrument? do you remember the characters? Okay, maybe you will not like all the characters. Some people like other people, some people like, depends on your real life, what people surround you. For example, I like the NPCs in Dragon Age 1 quite a lot, but in the second part I didn't like them that much. Maybe there is a person who thinks that characters in Dragon Age 2 were really great, but in 1 they were not that great. Some people compare Dragon Age to Cyberpunk, but one is fantasy, one is, let's say, sci-fi. One is made by Polish studio, one is backed up by Electronic Arts, different budgets. I don't really want to make such comparisons. I really like both games. I like Mass Effect. I think that, Steel Vampire Bloodlines is one of my all-time favorite RPGs, especially, the different, let's say, fractions. I remember playing as this crazy fraction where you hear voices inside your head, and this had a major impact on the story, but I think that Cyberpunk is the closest game in quite some time, matching maybe Vampire Bloodlines. Let's see, how this series go. For Cyberpunk, I don't know if there is going to be a second game, because too much negative press, and I hope there is a second game, but thus far I don't think it's very likely. I hope for some cool DLCs which maybe include some different ending, maybe some optimistic, positive ending. But let's see. There are some negative parts. For me, in general, this game is 9 out of 10. I think many people will disagree, but for me, this is just my take. There are some negatives. Like, I really wish that, this initial corpo or nomad or street has a bigger impact. Especially the corporate part, it's like done in such a rush, maybe no more than 10 minutes, or I don't know, it's very short. And maybe, it's a matter of perspective. Some people are rebellious and they want to bring the system down, but there are some people who just want to make business and make some big company. So maybe this concept could have been expanded. Maybe one side is preventing the other from completing the game or something like this. You cannot expect that playing corporate you will play Roller Coaster Tycoon or something like this, but yeah, could have been done better. For the street, you are playing as a street guy all the time, so not much to say about this. Now, there are some quests which were not finished. They don't have a big payoff. I expected more. There is some cool quest where some person is trying to become mayor, but somebody is brainwashing them, implanting wrong thoughts. And this quest had an amazing storyline, and I really wanted to learn more about this, but it seems like the quest is not finished. Now, as for the choices you made, some people said, okay, they don't have big impact, but I think they do, because, as I said, there are multiple endings and they depend on your, let's say, how you play the game. And also towards the end, I saw that, the NPCs which you care about and you had interactions with reflect during the credits where they ended up, where they think you are, and there are many variations. I saw that depending on what you did, there are variations. Now, I talked a lot about this game, and I didn't talk about one of the most major aspects. There is a very cool mechanic, like you talk to some character and this character has a major role, and one other character dies, and people say, okay, they died because of the other character. I don't want to spoil things, because this is something major, and if you play the game from the beginning, if I tell you what is this part about, I might spoil things. But let's say you are interacting with some character, which, if you play Knights of the Old Republic, there is this old person, if I remember the name correctly, Kreia, which is neither good, neither bad. And this character in this game plays similar role. Even towards the ending, there are questions. Like he says, you were this kind of person, then you changed depending on your choices. You can gain this character's trust, and different things happen. And this is a very, very unique part of the game, and the interaction with this character is very genuine, and I don't want to go into too much detail, but this is another part that makes the game great. I would say the interaction is as good as The Last of Us or maybe The Last Guardian, so yeah, I would say it's quite good. There is a lot more to say about this game, but as I said, I don't really want to spoil the game and go into spoiler territory. But I thought, okay, this is a game which got overlooked just because of bad press, and I really wanted to talk about this game and just say how great it is, just the story, and it's worth playing. And I don't do many great reviews, so I don't think I did justice to the game by doing this review, but I really wanted to share my thoughts, and I think that at some points there are options to play parts of the game for free, so just try it out. Forget about the bad press and think about the game world, the game story. Just give this game a second chance, and you will not regret this. These are my thoughts on the game, and probably I missed quite a lot in this review. But thanks for watching or just hearing this review. That's all.